Just how good has Gard been since taking over the Wisconsin Badger program from Bo Ryan? Well, the student has been better than the teacher. In fact, Gard's 29 wins in his first 40 games as the head Badger ranks as the second best start ever, topped only by a man who got his beginning in Madison more than a century ago. Gard, kind enough to join us now on BTN Live from our campus studio in Madison. Greg, let's start with the most recent win. We go back to Tuesday. The offense in the second half is struggling. Bronson Koenig's having a individually tough night, yet he sparks that late game-winning run. How has he grown, not just as a player, but maybe more importantly as a leader since he got to Madison?
Well, I think the number one thing is that he doesn't get frustrated when the ball doesn't go in. He's able to play through things, continue to be aggressive, and obviously the plays he made down the stretch for us in that last 5 or 6 minutes were huge, and along with a couple threes he hit. But I think the biggest thing is he didn't get flustered, he didn't panic when the ball wasn't going in or he wasn't getting shots early in the game, and just kept playing and stuck to it, and eventually he was able to get a few to go down.
Another one of your players, Ethan Happ, one of my personal favorites. I got to tell Ethan last year while I was following you guys in the tournament how much I enjoy watching him play, and I think I'm always blown away by his consistency. Night after night, he just seems so efficient. He may not get the national pub of guys like Caleb Swanigan on the inside, but what is it about Ethan's game that allows him to play like that night after night?
Well, I think the number one thing is he understands who he is and plays within his lane. He understands that he's not a prolific perimeter shooter, and therefore he doesn't spend a lot of time on the perimeter. He's pretty efficient around the basket and sticks to that. I think the one thing with Ethan, you talked about consistency last year. I've seen it even more this year. His confidence level has grown. I don't see the ups and downs that a normal freshman goes through and he went through last year. He's been becoming someone we can really depend on each night. But like I said, he really understands who he is and what he's good at and sticks to that.
17 straight home wins for your team now, dating back over a calendar year. If you had to guess, how many points on a given night is the Kohl Center worth to you guys?
Man, I don't know if it's obviously the home environment, the home crowd has been terrific, but also we've had very good players that have played well here, have played well together, have not gotten flustered. I talked about Bronson not getting flustered individually, but we've also had teams that haven't panicked maybe when things haven't gone well. You know, obviously it's worth something, but I think our teams have done a good job of bonding together. And we've been pretty effective on the road too. I mean, you look at our road record over the last 10, 15 years has been one of the best in the league, if not the best. And I think it's a credit to our players of how they've stuck together, stuck to the plan that was in place, and just kept working at it. And eventually we're able to get things done in games.
And I believe in taking a quick glance at your schedule, you have 3 of the next 4 on the road, including a trip to Minnesota, renewal of that border battle. You've owned this series as of late, 5 straight wins, about 14 points per. But how much more dangerous is this Gopher team, maybe in comparison to some you've seen the last couple of years?
Well, they're extremely talented, obviously, and other than the last 2 games, have been playing really well. And I think them getting back home, so you're talking about a team that's comfortable at home. I think Minnesota is very comfortable at home. Obviously, we know they're very talented. They got some younger players, and Amir Coffey is playing very well. Nate Mason has really improved. And obviously, their front line, I think, has helped them with Murphy and Lynch and the rest of them that have been playing up front. So it's a stiff test, a tough place to play. We're looking forward to it, and obviously it's still relatively early in the Big Ten conference race, so hopefully we can go up there and play well on Saturday.
Greg, Minnesota is one of those teams that appears to provide the Big Ten with a deeper middle than we've seen in the past, maybe the deepest middle in the entire country. It's not just a catchphrase. Literally anyone can win on any given night. Do you think that kind of parity is good for the league, and is it good for college basketball as a whole?
I think it is. I think that's the one buzzword that's been flying around is parity, and we've seen that already just in teams that you'd expect to win at home, haven't been able to win at home, and teams that you normally haven't seen go win on a road venue have done that. I think it helps our league. Obviously, the attendance in this league has been terrific and has led the country for, I think, 40 years. So it's obviously great for the fans, great for the BTN watchers and everybody that watches. It's a little stressful on the coaches, but for everybody else involved, it's been a great thing.
Well, let's be honest. When is it not stressful on the coaches in today's day and age of major college sports? Do you ever get a break? Do you ever get a time when you're not thinking about what's next?
Maybe May, June, July, somewhere in there. But for the most part, your wheels are always spinning, trying to figure out what to do next, how to improve, and preparing for whatever game you got coming, obviously, in the season.
Greg, the roster that you inherited was quite a bit different from the roster which led Wisconsin to back-to-back trips to the Final Four, yet it's still been very successful. One of the interesting conversations we've had here with several of our analysts is the style, and whether the style that you guys have played over the last couple of years, and specifically this year, if it's more reminiscent of, say, 7 to 10 years ago at Wisconsin than it is 3 to 4 years ago. How would you respond to that?
Well, I think we've evolved a little bit as players have changed and our rosters fluctuated. We played a little different with Frank Kaminsky and Sam Decker than we did previously, and we adjusted before that with Jordan Taylor, with doing a little bit more of a ball screen series in our offense. And we've just tried to adjust based on the personnel we have, but at the same time, our system has remained relatively the same. I think the biggest word, more so than style, is culture. And the environment we have here, the culture that players come into, how players improve and get better as their career goes on. Those are really the things that really, I think, help us or at the foundation of our program. And we're able to deviate and adjust as needed each year with players based on their strengths or weaknesses and what our experience level leads us to be able to do. And our players have done a great job of adjusting every year when we've had to modify some things here and there.
Always great to catch up with Wisconsin head coach Greg Gard. Greg, truly appreciate the time. Best of luck the rest of the way.
Hey, and thanks for having me on, Rick.